What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting these possibilities for you to consider, enabling you to come up with your own conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, code breakers around the world, wherever you may be. My name is Logan. I'm going to be your tour guide for this presentation on the topic of free will. A very interesting topic to discuss here. Do you think you have free will? What would you be able to show as evidence that you actually have free will? What would you be able to show? I'll leave that question for you to ponder as we go through this presentation. I'm going to show you some breakout discovery stuff. I'm going to show you things to me and many other code breakers are undeniable, meaning undeniable in the sense that we are living through predestination. And free will, for the most part, is a myth. It's an illusion. I think that free will is an interesting topic to consider. I think that we've talked about this. I think that we have free will in our emotions that we give off. Maybe we have free will in the small little things in life. You know, what we're going to have for dinner or what kind of clothes we're going to buy. But for me, that's about it. That's about as far as I'm going to go by admitting that we have free will, because the code, over 800 videos now, says otherwise. So as I often say, put on a pair of headphones, block out the outside world. I promise you this one will leave you satisfied and pondering if you still think you have free will, whether or not you actually do. So this is kind of where we're going to start with this. And this is now, you're going to hear me reference this moving forward because this is what popped into my head. Not my thoughts. Where are the thoughts coming from? Not from me, I'm having them. Anyway, this was the thought that popped into my head today. Forensic decoding. What is forensics? You know, if you go to a crime scene and you're in the forensics team, you're now looking for clues on how the crime was committed. You're looking at the aftermath. You're looking at the links. What can you connect to solve the crime? We do the same thing with code breaking. We do forensics. And so now this is what we're going to call it, forensic decoding. So I hope you're ready, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the methodologies that we will be discussing during this presentation. These are in no particular order. Over here to the top left, astrology, astronomy. We're going to also bring in alchemy, the periodic table. We're made up of a lot of these elements. They're essential for our well-being. You need 60 minerals as a human being to live out each day. We're also going to get into the science of numbers and numerology. You're going to see a lot of Chaldean. I will be bringing some English into this. There's that 33, free will. It must be the Masons or Jesuits. That's probably what we should link it to automatically, because that's what the 33 means, right? It's Masonic, and it's the Jesuits behind all of the free will. It must be those people. It must be blaming those people. Then we bring in the playing cards. 52 cards in a deck, 52 weeks in a year, 4 suits, 4 seasons, 13 cards per suit, 13 weeks per season. See, when you add this in and connect it to numerology, you just attached another detail to show the impossibilities of free will. Then we can add in to get the image, the tarot. 6 of diamonds becomes the 6 of discs, the 6 of pentacles. We're also going to be bringing into this presentation science, real science, biology, the body. How is that tied to free will? It's going to be tied to the brain. We're going to talk about that. We're going to show some examples through theology, predestination, and no free will through astrology. And then the big one. I'm going to be bringing some mainstream into this. These 3 movies, Cabin in the Woods, Truman Show, Adjustment Bureau, I'm going to show you how they're all tied together and they all have something in common. And I'm going to show you what that means moving forward. Amazing movies, all 3 of them. Greatest show on earth. No free will. The illusion of free will. And then being inside of a scripted reality with the Truman Show. All right, so those are the methodologies. Let's get into the very first topic, theology. Let me show you how there is no free will in theology. These are just some examples. If we put on our thinking caps, we know that even Jesus did not have a choice, because in the whole incident of the Last Supper and Judas and the betrayal, well, Jesus was the one who gave Judas the bread dipped in sop, and once that happened, Satan entered into Judas, which had Judas betraying Jesus. Where is the free will with Jesus dipping the bread in the sop to give it to Judas so Satan could enter into Judas? Without Jesus's role, Judas doesn't take the bread, he doesn't sit at the table of the Last Supper, and he doesn't have Satan enter into him. So these 2 examples are strong evidence. I would even say prove, but that's the word I don't really like to use. But evidence, strong evidence that Judas didn't have a choice. He was selected to betray Jesus. Actually, Jesus even said, one of you is going to betray me. So he was premeditating that situation. Jesus didn't have a choice. Jesus didn't have a choice. Judas didn't have a choice. And what about Pharaoh in the Old Testament? Let my people go. Nope, you're not going to happen. So what did God do? He hardened Pharaoh's heart. Where was the choice? Where was Pharaoh's choice? Oh, so we're led to believe that him denying the Israelites to leave Egypt, that was on his own accord, but not God hardening his heart to make it official. Which is it? No, Pharaoh didn't have a choice. No matter God hardening his heart or simply saying you're not leaving Egypt. And then the crucifixion itself, we had Pontius Pilate and him crucifying the Christ. Well, where did that thought come from of making the decision to move him into that position of crucifixion? Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, we have thoughts. There's no doubt that we all have thoughts, but they're not our thoughts. Certainly they're moving through us, but they're not originating from us. So the thought of the crucifixion by Pontius Pilate was not his own thoughts. He acted upon the thoughts, but it wasn't his own thoughts. Wasn't his own thoughts, wasn't his own thoughts, wasn't his own thoughts, wasn't his own thoughts. 4 different examples in theology, and there are a ton more that support with great evidence that human beings in theology, in the Bible, did not have a choice. Final answer. That was theology. Now, let's get into some of the Greeks. I want to talk about what the Greeks said about destiny. This is what they said. They said these words: Mora is what happens to you. Destiny. Mora or Moira is destiny. And this word, I'm going to butcher it so I don't even pronounce it. This is how I feel our free will works, is how you choose to act towards it. This is your reaction. How you emotionally react to the situations based upon your destiny. This, it cannot be controlled. That's your destiny, your predestination. This, the reaction that how you act towards it, that is the free will. This is what the Greeks claimed. I'm not saying that the Greeks have the final answer, but this is, to me, how it works. This is what it looks like through the tarot. When you look at these cards based upon the symbolism and how they're linked to numerology, we're going to go to the original Greek, the ancient Greek, not the modern Greek, the ancient Greek. We're going to do this word right here. And this word is how you react to the situations that are happening through your destiny. This is the destiny. This is fate or destiny. This is what you can't choose. You can't choose your fate or destiny. You don't have a choice with fate or destiny. But you can definitely choose on how you're going to respond to the situations in your destiny. So here is destiny, right? And it's just so very fitting, right? The 7 of Cups. How do we get that? 59 minus 52 is 7. That's the 7 of Hearts, which becomes the 7 of Cups. So your fate or destiny is chosen not by us, but by something outside of us. You can call it a representative. You can call it the divine. You can call it your spirit guides. You can call it your angels. Whatever it is that you want to call it. Your screenplay is what I call it. This right here is tied to the numerology of the game of life. If I just go to numerology and I type in the game of life, 59. Fate or destiny in the Greek, 59. The game of life is your fate, your destiny. And also it's this, contract with God, 59. Fate or destiny, 59. This is what you can't choose. You can't choose your contract. It was already given to you. That's why we have 800 plus videos now supporting this with mounds and mounds of evidence beyond what I'm going to show you here today. And then the Greek says that you can choose to respond based upon this word right here, 137, and you subtract 52 until you get to 52 or below. Why? Because there are 52 cards in a deck. You got to do it twice. You'll get to 33. 33 is the 7 of diamonds. That becomes the 7 of pentacles. So to get the image, this is what it looks like. See, your this is all of your screenplays swept up. And you're mulling it over on how you're going to react. This is how valuable the tarot is. 33 is the amount of vertebrae you have. That's the kundalini rising up, the spinal cord, the electrical, the circulatory system, the electrical impulses that you have. We're going to get into that with the science for this next topic. This is where we bring in real life studies to support that you don't have free will. This man right here, Robert Sapolsky, if you haven't listened to any of his podcasts, he's got books, you should. See, this man doesn't just tell you you don't have free will. He gives you examples. He gives you reason. He gives you credible evidence to tell you that you don't have free will. I'm going to leave a couple of the videos in the description of this presentation so you can click on them. Definitely worth the listen. Now, let's talk about this. Free will. This is the science part of it, right? And you can see it says your brain initiates actions before you are consciously aware of deciding. Where's the free will then? So here's number one. It's called the readiness potential. So you read with me. It says the EEG studies, which is Benjamin Libet's experiments. And if you don't know who that guy is, it's this man right here. He won a Nobel Prize in psychology, supporting with mounds of evidence that you don't have free will. But what it goes on to say is it shows a surge of neural activity in the motor cortex hundreds of milliseconds before people report consciously deciding to move. So before you end up moving into action, there's neural activity to set that in motion. Number 2, predictive firing. There's more advanced layers to this. More advanced brain imaging can predict simple decisions like pressing a button with the left or right hand up to several seconds before a subject becomes aware of their choice. This is premeditation in the brain before you move into form in the physicality. Where's the free will? And then number 3, automatic priming. Hormones, sensory cues, and past conditioning set the stage for behavior. By the time you feel like you've made a choice, the relevant biological chain reaction has already started. So where's the free will? This is science. This is case studies and testing of the brain. So here's kind of the summary of it. And for me, the proof of predetermination. As it says, modern psychology and neuroscience reveal that the reactions humans have to events are not spontaneous, free choices, but are actually premeditated by the brain before we consciously choose. Studies measuring brain activity, like those using EEG or fMRI, show that the brain makes a decision milliseconds, even seconds, before the individual is consciously aware of deciding. This phenomenon is called readiness potential. And if you want more information on that, I'd highly encourage you to go do some research on Benjamin. Okay? Because this is the support. This is the evidence that you would bring to a courtroom to tell the jury to get the verdict that you don't have free will. So what I did was I put these stats into AI. A lot of you are using ChatGPT, the Architect, Grok. Now, and what I did, ladies and gentlemen, I back up right here. I have been decoding not using AI for the longest time, and I started to a little bit use AI. I would put in all of my findings, all of the connections. So it has kept a log of all of the inputs that I've put into AI about these connections through synchronicities and just putting the puzzles together. And so I asked it the percentages of free will versus determinism. See, I'm a determinist. I'm a determinism. And look what it says. Biological neuroscience evidence, Sapolsky, Benjamin Libet, readiness potential. We just discussed that. 85 to 95%, zero free will. No free will. Decisions can be predicted before conscious awareness. Then we get into the esoteric sciences, astrology and numerology. True sidereal, the playing cards, tarot, human design, the cosmic codes, 80 to 90%, no free will. Placements and cycles repeat archetypally, sharing, shaping personality, timing, and events. The tarot and playing cards directly, 75 to 85%, no free will. The deck reveals pattern possibilities rather than infinite choice. We're going to cover the cards in this presentation. How about theology, theological? Bible, gematria, ages, 70 to 85%, no free will. Doctrines of predestination. The mark of the beast, cyclical reincarnation, encoded destiny. And then the simulation model, the atomic model, the periodic table, loops and isotopes and sacred geometry, and all the stuff I've been putting in to AI to have it spit out all these percentages, 90 to 95%, no free will. Behavior and existence follow fixed mathematical laws. Now, if you're not somebody who has pumped this into AI, you might say, no, I got free will. No, you can refute it all you want. But see, if you don't have the information, if you don't have all the information, you're not putting into AI enough information to get the statistics. And I'm not trying to fudge it. I am giving it real things that are tangible throughout the course of my decoding life. And then adding in real science. And the real science is almost 100% that you don't have free will. I'm going to leave it up to you, right? Like, I'm very passionate about this. These are my final answers, by the way. It doesn't matter if you want to agree with me. All that matters, honestly, is what you end up adopting as your truth. That's all that matters moving forward. Let's get into some mainstream. Now I'm really going to support this. I'm going to show you how humankind do not have choices, and there is no way that all these people are in cahoots to consciously sit down and do what I'm about to show you. I'm going to go to the Adjustment Bureau. Now I can see, there's countless numerology ciphers. Some people like to call it gematria. Here at Decoded Reality, we use numerology. Numerology is the science of numbers. Once you get the output, you got to know what the numbers mean. You can't just leave it here. That's numerology. Gematria is basic stuff. It's basic decoding. You got to go beyond that. Connecting one number to another number with other words, that's basic decoding. You got to go beyond that to get the narration and the image and the picture. And that's what we're going to do. So this scene right here from the Adjustment Bureau is exactly when Terrence Stamp, the actor, his name was Thompson, said to David, of course, Matt Damon is David, "You don't have free will, David." Right when he says you don't have free will, I pressed pause and I got a timestamp. I'm going to cover that. But I want to point out, as you can see, 73 is the outcome for the title of the movie, Just Like You're on Television. This is from the Truman Show. And we're going to cover that because I told you the Adjustment Bureau, Truman Show, and Cabin in the Woods are the three movies that are absolutely connected by supporting we don't have free will. So here's the timestamp. And you can go fact check this yourself. The version that I was watching, I stopped it exactly at 1 hour, 4 minutes, 36 seconds. When he says, you don't have free will, and then he says David, and it goes to 1:04:37. But when he actually says and finishes free will, I press pause, 1 hour, 4 minutes, 37 seconds. And this is not the first time we've done timestamps here at Decoded Reality. You don't have free will. That adds up to the number 41. Right there. 41. Now, I'm immediately going to go to theology because the script is playing out through that. And this is a huge reference point. I'm going to get into the cards and the tarot, yes. But I want to point out how theology is tied to all of this. The Old Testament, Genesis 1 verses 1, God made the heavens and the earth. It's Elohim. It's not Yahweh. You got to know your scripture, ladies and gentlemen. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Yahweh doesn't come on the scene until the second book of Genesis. And this is the gods. The Adjustment Bureau. These were men, people. And it ties to, numerically, the word womb in Hebrew. This is from Exodus 13 verses 12. This is coming through into the matrix. And you're now property of the Lord. 41. And these have a root of the 5 and 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses. You don't have free will. Timestamp, 41. So I want to go somewhere with this. And I also want to point out something very fun and I'll let all of you great decoders go deeper into this. I just want to point this out, that the country code, the calling code for 41 is tied to where the internet had its birth, Switzerland. I'm just throwing that out there. You can do whatever it is that you want with it, but I thought it was very interesting that the gods that created the heaven and the earth numerically are tied to Switzerland, where www comes from, the birthing of the internet. Just want to put that out there. But I'm going to go deeper with this 41, and now I'm going to get into the cards. And I want to be very clear. If you haven't worked with the cards, don't just say, don't just dismiss it. That would be a foolish move to dismiss it. Dismissing something you don't know anything about. Go deeper, go study it, like a lot of us have. And you'll see that this system is an oracle, like Sharon Jeffers, the great card reader, calls it. It's an oracle. It's embedded into nature. And then that's where the tarot gets into play. So I'm pointing this out here. I'm going to go to Solar Spread 41. I'm going to leave all these solar spreads in the description of the video so you can click on them and you can go and see and reference them to show you I'm not trying to get one past you. There's no magic here. I'm not trying to get the woolly over your eyes. I'm not trying to do sleight of hand. No, we don't do that here. We use credible evidence for our support. So Solar Spread 41 is sitting in the same exact spot as this card right here in the Master Spirit Spread. If you're new to the cards, there is a Master Spirit Spread. It's the card of the divine. It governs all other cards. And when you compare the charts to the Master Spirit Spread, it overlays and tells you kind of the boss of what every card is in these solar spreads. Now, what's fascinating about this combination of cards is that Terrence Stamp, his birth card is the 6 of clubs. That's right. Terrence Stamp has the 6 of clubs. He was born on July 22nd, right there. 6 of clubs. That's his card. And he's card number 19. Okay, card number 19 in the Master Spirit Spread. There his card is there. This card means victory, but it means stalemate. I'm going to get to what this means right here. So I want to go back here and tell you. When this timestamp attaches, you don't have free will, and it adds up to 41, and the 41st card is the 2 of spades, and in Solar Spread 41, it's sitting in the same spot as the actor that said it. This is strong evidence of scripted reality. See, the 2 of spades being the card of no free will. See, you can see this figure right here. Let me narrate this. This figure's obviously blindfolded, arms are crossed. It's got the 2 swords, but it's not moving. It's at night. What it's doing is it's symbolizing the mind's belief that it must choose between 2 options. But there's no movement. So this is the card of neutrality. This is not making a move, sitting still. There's no action on this just yet. You have to pair this with something, and we're going to wait till you get to the end of this, and you're going to see what we're going to pair it with. All right? When we take this card, 2 of spades, and we spell it out through numerology, it's identical outcome as spirit into matter and lights, camera, action. How about that? As we have been showing, we're in a movie, lights, camera, action, 56. Spirit into matter, that's what you are. You're a bag of bones. Spirit into matter. Greatest show on earth, Cabin in the Woods. We're going to get to that. This card is ruled by Uranus. Why I say that is when we go to the master card chart, over here to the master spirit side, right here to the left, it's in the Uranus line right here. The owner of the 2 of spades in the card system is Uranus. Uranus in the mythologies means heaven. Uranus in the mythologies created the Olympians and Titans. All of them are its children. So we're talking OG. Uranus is the OG in astronomy and astrology and mythology. The original gangster, along with Gaia, is Uranus. And this is its card. And this card really is about standing still. It needs to be put into action. This is the card of lukewarm, coming into this world as a virgin. There's no polarity just yet. There will be. 2 is duality. Spades is the I am. We're going to get somewhere with this, okay? I'm going to come back to that. Let's shift into how scripted Terrence Stamp was when they casted him to play Thompson in the Adjustment Bureau. He was 72 years of age when he was sitting in this position right here, and he said to Matt Damon, "You don't have free will, David." 72. He was 72. You can do the number outcomes yourself. He was born in 1938. This film came out in 2011. You can do the math yourself. 72. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Solar Spread 72. I'm going to locate his card. Remember, he was born on July 22nd. There it is, 6 of clubs. It's sitting in space number 32. All of these spaces are numbered like a bingo chart. And I'm going to go back to that master spirit spread, the divine spread, that's governing over that Solar Spread 72, which means it's governing over Terrence Stamp. And what's sitting in that space, by default, the 32nd card, the 6 of diamonds, another 6. The last day of creation in Judaism is day number 6. The first perfect number in mathematics is 6. The 6th element on the periodic table is carbon, the king of the elements. And this is where it gets super interesting, because now we have action on that 2 of spades. You're going to see how it's going to blend right with this 2 of spades. Now you have this card right here. Card number 70 in the tarot. It's card number 32, card number 70 in the tarot. This is the card of the pineal gland. You see this little individual in red handing down things to the 2 people? This is your brain. The left and right hemispheres of your brain. It's balanced and it's giving to whatever side it wants to give to. If you're a fan of Dolores Cannon, this is her birth card. Where do you think she was getting her information from? If you're a fan of Nostradamus, Nostradamus' numerology is 70. Where do you think he was providing his quatrains from? Where do you think his future predictions were coming from? The Adjustment Bureau, predestination, our thoughts, their thoughts. And it's not cookie cutter, man. It's what your movie calls for. So we have a pair of 6s, 66. And again, Terrence Stamp was 72 when he shot this. There he is. His card sitting in space 32, tied to that 6 of diamonds, which is card 70. And why this is so important and why I have Jim Carrey here. Now we're going to introduce the next timestamp, the Truman Show. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, the next topic is called The Truman Cabin in the Woods. I'm going to bring both of these movies in. I'm going to start with The Truman Show. It's not the first time I've shown this. This is when Christoph, at the very end, is trying to talk Truman out of walking through that doorway. And if you remember, he says, "Say something, goddammit, you're on television. You're live in front of the whole world." And this is when the timestamp was, and I press pause, when Christoph finishes saying, "You're live in front of the whole world." 1 hour, 34 minutes, 35 seconds. That adds up to the number 70. Merely a coincidence, right? This adds up to a 70. This is the 70th card, sitting in the Master Spirit Spread, governing over Terrence Stamp in his role in the Adjustment Bureau, telling you, you don't have free will. You don't have free will. Why don't you have free will? Because the ideas that are being handed down to you, the divine, are not yours. You're live in front of the whole world. You don't have free will. I know some of you say, yeah, but he walked through the doorway. Yeah, he was supposed to. He was supposed to walk through the doorway. 70. And then it wasn't just this movie. Here's another one. See, all these directors, and they're all in cahoots trying to get one past you. They're trying to screw you over. They're trying to desperately try to pull the wool over your eyes. Now, here's the third example of a timestamp of a different movie called Cabin in the Woods. And if you haven't seen this movie, you should, because it was all about control of the environment. And this is the scene where this guy right here, one of the directors of The Cabin, he says, greatest show on earth. Pause. 51 minutes, 19 seconds, 70. So let me just get this and backtrack it. This guy right here in Cabin in the Woods, if you've never seen this again, you got to go watch it. He says, greatest show on earth. Pause. 51 minutes, 19 seconds, 70. Greatest show on earth. You're live in front of the whole world, and you don't have free will. Greatest show on earth. You're live in front of the whole world, and you don't have free will. 3 separate movies, all connected by way of the 70, the tarot card 70, and the spilling out of information onto the world stage. Now, I know you want more evidence. Here it is. I'm going to go to solar spread number 70. And again, I'll leave these all in the description so you can click on them, so you can verify what I'm showing you is accurate. What I'm highlighting here, this is Jim Carrey's birthday. He was born on January 17th. Big shout out to Tommy Truthful, same birthday. 10 of diamonds. Card 36. Where can we go from here to show you a scripted reality, predestination? I'm going to go to solar spread 36. His card is the 36th card in the deck. Let me show you. 10 of diamonds, here it is. Card 36. I'm going to show solar spread 36. And they're sitting in the same space as solar spread 70, which is the timestamp added up of Christoph saying, you're live in front of the whole world. There's Jim Carrey with that 6 of diamonds, and the 6 of diamonds is card number 70 in the Master Spirit spread. Tied right to Thompson telling you that you don't have free will. I mean, is all the directors in on this whole big conspiracy? And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, to kind of put an anchor in this, Jim Carrey was 36 when he played Truman Burbank. This is when the Truman Show came out, 1998. Go do the math. Subtract his birth year. Go do timeanddate.com. He was 36. Right there. It's right there, folks. It's connected. And what happens when you bring the 1, 0, and the 6 together? What happens when you get the 106? I'm gonna fast forward. See this right here? This is the 2 base pairs of our DNA. 106. I'm gonna come back to that. Just kind of jumping ahead. So why the 70? What is so significant about the number 70? Why is it so powerful? Why is it so big in the whole narration of this? Well, now we bring in chemistry to add another layer to make it even more difficult for all this stuff to come out this way. Every time you add a layer onto it, ladies and gentlemen, it makes it that much more credible of a scripted reality. No free will. So card 70, found from card 32, 6, is tied to the 70th element, Iterbium. This is the average isotope. What is this? The vesica piscis. Well, what's the measurement of the vesica piscis? 1.73. This is the square root of 3. 1.73 is the square root of 3. So now we're getting into lunar and solar eclipses. We're getting into theology and the ichthys, because that's what that is. We're getting into Christianity and Judaism, because that's what that is. We're getting into astronomy, because that's what that is. 70 is the 7th pentagonal number. 5. You add up all those and you get 196, which is tied to gold. That's for a different story. But let's keep going with this. So here again is the timestamp of when Jim Carrey was walking through the door. Christoph says, "You're live in front of the whole world." We stopped it. It's 70. What is the card that's tied to the number 70? Well, we have to take the total amount of cards and subtract. 52. There are 52 total cards in the deck. We subtract using that base. We get the number 18. The 18th card that's tied to the number 70, 5 of clubs. The 5 of clubs is this. Drama. This is the card of you're live in front of the whole world. Drama. See, this is, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, this is what happens. Now, Logan's full of shit. Logan's an idiot. Logan's an asshole. Oh my God, yeah. A lot of hater energy. That's totally cool. I don't care. This is the card of drama. This is the card of the Matrix. It's my truth against your truth against everybody else's truth. And this is what people do. They argue. That's why there's 10,000 religions. The word religion equals 27. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you go do your research, this card right here is the card for the birthday of the original oracle in the Matrix. And if you go study why the Matrix was created, it was because the architect says that the first Matrix he created was sublime. It was perfect, but it had a flaw. And that flaw was people don't like to have perfection. They like to have a little bit of drama. So he hires the oracle, and the oracle that was casted to be played in the Matrix, go do your research, has the 5 of clubs. Yeah, it's tied to the Matrix. Just so we can be clear. But anyway, let's go to the chart. You can see that space number 18, where that 70 sits, right there, space number 18, space number 18. We now get into free will. Again, where's your evidence to show me that you have free will? Where would it be? What would you pull out and show it to a jury that you have free will? There would be, it's an impossibility. You can't show it. I can tell you right now. Solar spread 18, which is what this timestamp ends up becoming. Sitting in space 18, this is my birth card, which is one of the reasons why I'm the messenger to show you this. The 8 of spades. The 8 is how many blood types we have. It's the torus field. In chemistry, it's tied to oxygen. That's the air you breathe, isn't it? It's the omega, the alpha and omega. That's why Genesis 1 verses 8 talks about the day and the evening, and Revelation 1 verses 8 talks about the alpha and omega. 18. This is what gives you life, oxygen. Well, wouldn't you know it, those sneaky Masons and Jesuits again, they keep popping up. Must be that organization that's running the whole show. You can see free will's tied to 18. And sitting in space 18 is the 8 of spades. And what does that card look like? Well, this in the tarot. Trapped. When you correlate it to this whole entire presentation, it means you don't have free will. You don't have it. When you go even further, and I type this in, I got a whole series on this. Scripted reality is 47, exactly the card of my birthday. Be very clear. The 8 of spades, there it is, card 47. 47 is scripted reality. The 47th card is sitting in the 18th space where free will sits. So how do you narrate this beyond what I'm showing you? When scripted reality is tied to free will, unless you want to refute all this stuff, all of these layers that I'm showing, all the timestamps, You want to just say, no, that's nonsense. That's totally cool. Adding on chemistry, you get silver. Silver is the silver screen in Hollywood. You're on the silver screen. And it's scripted. You know, the movie, when you're watching a movie, go yell at the actor or actress and tell them to move a different way. See if they'll move for you. No, they're not going to. It's a scripted movie. Well, what do you think we're in? We're in a scripted movie. It's your movie. You're the star of the show. But you're trapped. Like a rat in a cage. Mice. The mouse. That's why scientists experiment on mice. We get experimented on. What about this guy, Adam? This is the next topic, Adam. What about this? Why Adam? Because solar spread 18, which is tied to free. How much free will do we have? Well, how much did Adam have in the Bible? The first man. Again, I'm not saying the guy was real, but it's part of the story. Well, his name through the original Hebrew is 18. And sitting in solar space 18, in the 18th space, is the trapped and limited card, where you breathe oxygen. Another layer to cement this. So let's get into Adam. Adam. Aleph, Daleth, Mem. Adam. I have the symbol of pi there because you could see that the original Hebrew number outcomes for Adam is a permutation of the 3.141 pi. Pi. You're in pi. You're in the perfect circle. Well, when you take this to show you through mathematics, let's take this 18. This is going to be tied to everybody, right? You turn 18 at one point, you're tied to it. Maybe you're 18 right now. And you locate that 18 in the string of pi. Why? Because this is 3.141. So I'm going to go into the 3.141 string of pi. I got to go 426 total digits to get that 18. And that's the total you're going to get for all of these. See, this is the source code that writes the final product. What's the 1871? Well, it's the 286 prime number, of course. Oh, okay, great. What does that mean? Well, it just is the numerical output of our 8 known blood types. So let's get this straight. Our 8 known blood types, you're going to be one of these, has an outcome of 286. 286 is tied to the 1871. 1871 is the total amount of digits where you're going to find the number 18, and the number 18 is tied to the original word for the original man in theology, Adam. And 18 is tied to free will? Where's the free will, folks, when you're getting all these outcomes like this? These are fixed layers in mathematics. Where's the free will? Where is it? Again, show me some evidence that you have free will, and I'll be listening. But I know you can't. You won't be able to show any free will at all. It's an impossibility. All you can do is decode it after you've presented it. And there will be a code there, and it will be all strung together. And the reason why is because free will is an illusion. So to recap on this, on the 18, why the 18? Remember, the timestamp for you're on television, you're live in front of the whole world, added up to the number 70. Cabin in the Woods, the greatest show on earth, added up to the number 70. And when you take 70 and you subtract the total amount of cards in a deck, 52, you're going to get 18. So we go to space number 18, and sitting in space number 18 on solar spread 18 is the 47th card in the deck, which ties to scripted reality. And free will and 18 both equal 33. Where's the free will? And on top of that, if you want to add in this for good measure, what about the 18? Because 18 is 33. How about this? That's 18. How about this one? That's 18. Where's the free will, folks? Again, did Jesus have a choice? Judas, one of you will betray me. Where's the choice? No choice, man. Jesus and the Christ are tied to this. 33 as the crucifixion. 33 vertebrae running up your back. You're trapped on the silver screen. 8 known blood types. I could go on and on and on and on with this. All right, let's finish up. I think this is my last topic. Free will English. Because I know, Logan, you're using Chaldean. Okay, great. Let's shift into English. Let me show you there's no difference. This actually makes it even more stronger. Let's go to the English A through Z. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. English A through Z cipher. You don't have free will. The Adjustment Bureau. 228. See, where are you going to go with this? If you're just going to stop here and be a basic decoder and be like, well, the 228 can connect this and reverse and another. Yeah, okay, great. Congratulations. You connected a number to a number and a word to a word. Now you got to go deeper than that. 228, what are you going to do with this? Well, I know what I'm going to do to it. I'm going to tie it to chemistry. And I'm going to tie it to astrology and astronomy. And this is a big one. See, I reverse engineered this. So I didn't come up with this right away. I'm going to show you how I got to it. The element for Uranus is uranium. The element for Saturn is lead. And the element for Jupiter is xenon. It's also tin, but it's xenon. Because Zeus's numerology is 54 in the original Greek. Dead giveaway. And what you're looking at right here is the makeup of some of the Adjustment Bureau. The OG, Uranus. Who's Uranus's son? Kronos. And who's Kronos' son? Zeus. Who's the grandson? You're looking at the trifecta here. Father, son, grandson. Maybe you're a father who has a son, who has a grandson. These add up to 92 plus 82 plus 54, 228. This is going to be tied right to Ra. Ra has radium 228. Yep. 228. So now you're looking at, from an astronomy perspective, astrology perspective, and it's not just this. There's all the Mars and Venus, and they're all in there, but this is the big clue. Because it's not just that, it's also the molar mass of these three elements. See, we bring chemistry into astrology and astronomy, and we tie it to numerology, and we tie it to the mainstream, and we keep adding these layers to support with strong evidence that we live in a scripted reality. 577 is the total. And I'm going to go to mathematics. Is this a prime number? Yep, sure is. 577 is the 106th prime number. What can I do with this 106 to go beyond and extend? Well, I already know through Chaldean numerology that the two base pairs of our DNA is 106. The two base pairs, now we're going back to biology. The two base pairs match that in mathematics, which comes from the molar mass of these three, which tied to the Adjustment Bureau, found from this. Coincidence? Not really. So let me give you kind of the finale here. And again, I want to be clear, this is not the be-all, end-all, because it's a team effort. Mercury, Venus, Mars, they all have a hand in it. Sun, Moon, even the stars, Sirius, they all have a hand in this. But in this example of the Adjustment Bureau, you have the big three: father, son, grandson. And you can see that the two of spades, there it is. It sits in the Uranus line. And then sitting in the Saturn-Jupiter line, the Zeus-Chronos line, is the Six of Diamonds. And we could have did the Seven of Diamonds and the Queen of Clubs. But why I'm showing these two? Because these two, right here, if you go back, if you remember what I was showing you, is that this was tied to, you don't have free will, pause, timestamp 41. This is the 41st, tied to the 41st card. This is card 52, which is tied to Prison Planet. The Adjustment Bureau. This is neutral. This is when you come out into this world, you're not making any moves. This is standing still. But then when you add in this card, card number 70, remember the timestamp for you're live in front of the whole world, 70. Greatest show on earth from Cabin in the Woods, 70. It's tied to this. Yeah, because we're getting fed information. The Two of Swords tied to Uranus. This is the blindfold. This is the arms crossed. This is caught in the paralysis of duality. This symbolizes the mind's belief that it must choose between two options. You can't see anything, but you got two options here. But when you take the Six of Diamonds, the Six of Pentacles, you now have those options that are not self-created. These are the thoughts that are coming into your mind. These thoughts are coming into your mind and they're not yours. And this individual is giving to both sides. This is the right hemisphere of the brain, the left hemisphere of your brain. I would imagine that this is a strong contender for being your pineal gland, which controls when you go to sleep and when you wake up. So, from a numerology standpoint, from a tarot standpoint, the Two of Spades, tied to the Adjustment Bureau, resonates with polarity, opposition, and the false sense of autonomy. Because this Six of Pentacles, Six of Diamonds, what it does is it demonstrates that the polarity itself is maintained by a higher archetype, these. And that's what controls the flow. And again, I will just leave you with, like, certainly we're having thoughts, but they're not yours. And there are tons of things that happen in your life that you can't try to put together. Everything happens for a reason. I'm sure the majority of you have said that, if not all of you. Why would you say that? What does it mean? Even these cards right here, ladies and gentlemen, that's the 62. That's the numerology of Emmanuel in Isaiah 7 verses 14. That's the 26. 26 is Yod He Vah He in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible. There's a many different more examples than this, but I'll leave you here. And I would love to get your comments on what you think. And again, all that matters is what you end up adopting as your truth. But what evidence can you provide to show that you have free will? I'll be waiting forever because there will be nobody here that can offer any evidence. All you'll be able to do is offer actions in your life, and that's it. You'll be able to say, yeah, I chose that. There's no way to support it. There's no evidence. Zero. That's why here on this channel, and what we're doing is we're doing forensic decoding. Like a forensic scientist at a murder scene, looking at clues on who did it. Well, what we've done is we're looking at clues on how this reality operates. And just like all these individualistic stories, these people didn't have choices. As the Greek says, you may have the choice to react to your emotions. And I would even say, yeah, you may have some choices on what kind of perfume you're going to buy. That's about as far as I'm going to go with it. That's my final answer. Because this science right here, this is undeniable, folks, that your brain fires before you make decisions. And if this is not enough for you, I don't know what else would do it for you. The predetermination is solidified in science, in theology, in mythology, and in the esoteric sciences. All right, so that's what I got for you, ladies and gentlemen. Free Will Decoded. I hope you enjoyed this one. That's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.